Hey everybody, I'm Corey Mandell, and I'm excited to be doing this video, How to Launch Your Career, a Step-by-Step Process. Because I remember what it was like when I was starting out. I so much wanted to be a professional writer, but I was so frustrated and often confused. I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know how to get the right people to read my scripts. I didn't know how to get an agent. It's like I had this dream, but I wasn't really sure how I would ever fulfill it. And it seemed like the industry had these walls up, and it was really hard. If nobody knew you and nobody knew your work, it was so hard to get people to pay attention and to get the right people to read your scripts. And I was really lucky. I was really fortunate to have a couple of professional writers and a producer take me under their wings, and they showed me how the writing game is played. And they said there's no shortcuts. Ignore most of the advice and the information that's out there. Here are the steps to having a career. You have to follow each of these steps. And they also shared the mistakes to avoid, the common mistakes that derail so many people's chances. And if it wasn't for those people giving me this information, I never would have had a career. And it's been really an honor to get to work with writers over the past 12 years in my workshops and one-on-one. I've worked with writers and I've seen over 1,000 of them launch careers. They've sold scripts, they've sold pitches, they've been staffed on TV shows, they've gotten feature assignments, they've gotten movies made, they've gotten TV shows made. And the writers who succeed, they follow these steps. They do the right things and they avoid the mistakes. They avoid doing the wrong things. And I see writers who are just as smart, just as dedicated, who pour heart and soul into their work, who don't end up with a career because they're not doing all the right things or they're making certain mistakes. And I know there's just a lot of outdated and just some bad information out there about what's required or how you go about launching a career. So I really want to get this information out, this information that I was so fortunate that people generously shared with me, information that I've shared with my students and my clients and who I've seen go on to have careers. So I want to share all this information with you. So let's get at it. Let's get started. Okay. So if we're doing a step-by-step process for how to launch your career, obviously one of the key steps is you have to write the right kind of script. And the right kind of script is a script that can actually launch your career in the current marketplace, a script that can sell, or a script that can work as a writing sample to get you pitch meetings, or to get you staffed on a TV show, or to get you a feature film assignment. So you need to be writing the right kinds of scripts for the current marketplace. And a majority of writers are writing the wrong kinds of scripts for the current marketplace. They might be writing scripts that were the right kind of scripts 3 years ago or 5 years ago. And so no matter how well they pull it off, no matter how amazing those scripts are, if they're the wrong kinds of scripts for the current marketplace, it's not going to lead them to a career. So clearly, one of the main steps on this journey is writing the right kinds of scripts for the current marketplace. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. But once you're writing the right kinds of scripts, you need to get the right people to read them. People who can launch your career or can facilitate the launching of your career. Executives, producers, showrunners, agents, managers. And this step, getting the right people to read your scripts, that's the step that frustrates and confuses so many writers. And the reality is they're not always going about it the right way. And this was, again, I was so fortunate to have people show me how to go about it the right way. Because if you go about getting people to read your script, especially in this industry, if you don't go about it the exact right ways, it's going to be incredibly difficult or impossible. Now, again, I had people tell me how to do this. And when I first started out to get people to read my scripts or to read my spec script, within 10 days, I had an agent at ICM, a major agent. She represented Academy Award-winning writers, Academy Award-winning directors. And what's so critical about getting representation when you're starting out is that an agent or a manager gives you what you most need, which is credibility. I launched my career by selling a pitch to Ridley Scott. Now, why would Ridley Scott's company even bring me in to hear my pitch or to read my script? And the reason is Callie Corey wrote Thelma and Louise, which Ridley Scott directed. It wins the Academy Award. My agent at ICM, she represented Callie Corey. So when my agent calls Scott Free Productions, Ridley's company, and says, hey, I'm representing this new writer, you should read his script, you should meet with him, I think he's got this great idea, you should hear it. Of course they're going to do it because of her, because she transferred her credibility to me. And that's not to say that when you're starting out, you necessarily need an agent or a manager. It's certainly going to make things a lot easier for you. But I've worked with writers who knew how to get producers and executives to read their scripts, and we'll talk about that later on. And they were able to get their first writing job, and they didn't have an agent or a manager. But of course, once you get staffed on a show or you can sell a script, then agents and managers absolutely want to represent you. So most of the writers that I know will get an agent or a manager. And I should say that the opposite way, because generally you get a manager before you get an agent. Most writers I know got a manager or an agent and then launched their career, in large part because of that representation. But I've certainly seen writers launch a career without a manager or an agent, and then they get a manager or an agent. So I'm not saying that if you know the right way to go about trying to get people to read your script, that within 10 days, you'll have an agent signing you. I was unbelievably lucky. Everything fell into place so quickly for me. I have seen so many writers launch careers, and very rarely does it happen for them as quickly as it happened for me. And that's not because I was more talented than those writers. I was just immensely more lucky than a lot of those writers. But I've never seen a writer who writes the right kind of scripts and knows the right strategies for getting people to read those scripts who didn't ultimately end up being successful. Now, when you can write the right kinds of scripts, get the right people to read these scripts, you will go on the right kind of meetings. And the right kind of meetings is the kind of meetings that can launch your career. Someone reads your script, they want to meet with you, they want to hear your ideas for the show because they're trying to decide if they want to buy the script. Or they invite you in to pitch new ideas. Or again, a showrunner is looking to staff up her or his show, and they're meeting with you to potentially hire you onto their show, or a meeting for a feature film assignment, or even just a general relationship building meeting. And when you go on these meetings, it's so important that you understand what's actually happening in these meetings and what you need to accomplish and the mistakes you need to avoid. I have worked with many writers who have written absolutely the right kind of scripts, have representation, and are going on these meetings, but they're not launching a career because they're not doing the right things in these meetings. And we'll talk about that later on. So write the right kind of scripts, get the right people to read them, go on meetings, do the right things in these meetings. And in your first round of meetings, so you've written a script and you go, let's say you get representation, they're going to send you on a round of meetings. And it can be a combination of general meetings, pitch meetings, assignment meetings, meeting with showrunners. And a round of meetings could be 15 meetings, it could be 20 meetings, it could be 30 meetings. And by the time you're done with all of those meetings, it's absolutely possible that you've launched your career. You've sold a script, or you've sold a pitch, or you've been staffed on a TV show, or you have landed a feature film assignment. Absolutely possible that in this first round of 15, 20, 30 meetings, one of those meetings ends up launching your career. Absolutely can happen. More likely than not, it won't happen. More likely than not, you'll go through all of these meetings. It'll look really close that someone's going to buy your script, looks really close that someone's going to buy your pitch, really looks like someone's going to staff you. But when the dust clears, when it's all said and done, it could happen for you in that first round of meetings, more likely that it doesn't. So what do you do now? The answer should be really obvious. You got to write another right kind of script, another amazing script. And some people say, I'm back to square one. No, 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 no. You are not back to square one. You are so much further ahead than square one. Remember what square one was. Square one is you didn't have representation. Square one is you had to figure out how to get the right people to read your scripts. And when you did get people to read your scripts, or when an agent or manager got people to read your scripts, these people didn't know you. They didn't have an opinion of you or your work. These people were strangers. Now, the people who read your script, in large part, are fans. People who are fans of you, fans of your work. Most of the writers that I have worked with, it is so much more likely for them to launch their career in the second round of meetings than the first. So they wrote the right kind of script, they got representation, they went on a round of meetings, they didn't launch a career, they wrote another amazing script, went on a second round of meetings, and then they launched a career. And why is that? Why is it much more likely for someone to launch their career in the second round of meetings than the first round of meetings? And the answer is because this writer has now proven they are not a one-trick pony. There are plenty of writers who can write one amazing script, but they can't consistently write amazing scripts. And so you write one amazing script, you go on meetings. If you're doing the meetings correctly, even though the people you're meeting with aren't buying your script or buying your pitch or hiring you, if you do the meetings correctly, they want to be in business with you. They are impressed by you. And even though they're not able to work with you right now, down the road, they want to be in business with you, which means the next time you write a script and they get the script, they're excited. Oh, wow, this person I really want to be in business with wrote another script. And they are much more inclined to buy that script or buy your pitch or hire you. And if you go through a second round of meetings and you're doing all the right things, there's a really good chance you will have launched a career by the end of that second round of meetings. And if that doesn't happen, you know exactly what you need to do. Write a third script, go on a third round of meetings, and launch your career in the third round of meetings. Now, what if you go through you write 3 amazing scripts, you go through 3 rounds of meetings, and you still haven't launched a career? Well, as my agent would say, and you know, I brought my agent into my UCLA classes, and what he would say is, if you go through 3 rounds of meetings and you have not launched a career, one of 3 things is in play. Your scripts aren't quite as good as they need to be, or you're not doing the right things in these meetings, or you're just incredibly unlucky. Because if you're writing the right kind of scripts and you know what to do in the meetings, it is very unlikely that you would go through 3 rounds of meetings based off 3 amazing scripts and not have one person willing to take a shot on you and buy a script to pitch or hire you. But it can happen, in which case you'd have to go through a 4th round of meetings. The longest I've ever seen it take is 5. I remember a couple years ago, a writer who wrote 4 amazing scripts, went on 4 rounds of meetings, was so close, but nothing happened for her. She felt like giving up. She's like, I can't be this unlucky. I just must not be as good as I think I am. I had read her work. I'm like, you are an amazing writer. I knew she was doing the right things in the meetings. I'm like, you got to just write another script. It'll happen for you. She did. And she sold that 5th script. And then when she sold that script, she actually sold 2 of her previous scripts. And that's not that unusual, because once you sell a script, and it was a big high profile purchase, it was a lot of money. It was a premium cable company, made the trades, the Variety and Hollywood Reporter and such. And so she had all this buzz, and then people wanted to see what else she had written. And that's not that unusual that when it finally happens for you, some of your earlier work might suddenly get bought now. So this is the roadmap. Write the right kind of scripts. Got to know what that means. Get the right people to read it. Got to know how to do that. Know what to do in the meetings. And the first round, second round, third round, or maybe 4th round of meetings, launch your career. Sell a script, sell a pitch, get staffed on a TV show, or get a feature film assignment. But hopefully you're looking at this and you're saying, this is not a complete roadmap to success. This is the back end, but it's not the front end, because for most people, the very first step in the process is, what are the right kind of scripts? Now, maybe you know the answer. Maybe you have friends who are working writers and you've seen the scripts that launch their careers, or maybe you work in development, or you have a friend that works as an executive or a manager and agent. So maybe you know the answer to this and you can skip this step. But a lot of writers need to figure out or have someone help them figure out in the current marketplace what are the right kind of scripts. So that is a critical first step in the journey. Now, once you know what the right kind of scripts are, now you got to figure out what are the required skill sets? What are the tools that you need to possess to write the right kind of scripts? Because if you're not writing the right kind of scripts and or you're not able to fully pull off at the level required by the industry, you're not able to really hit the targets of the right kind of scripts, nothing else matters. Even if you can get people to read your scripts, even if you can get meetings, it's not going to lead to a career. So you need to know what are the required skill sets for writing the right kind of scripts. Just one example. You can't sell a TV pilot unless you have successfully set up, built, and launched an engine. Because no one buys a pilot, they buy a show. So you have to have an engine in your pilot script. And that's a skill set to understand how to set up, build, and launch an engine. That's one skill set. There's a bunch of skill sets that are required to be able to write the right kind of scripts involving character, involving story, involving concepts. I work with writers who know how to create engines, are amazing with characters, are amazing with story. Their scripts are hysterically funny or really tense and dramatic, but they don't know how to create the kind of concept, the kind of heightened concepts that's required in the current marketplace. There's so much stuff getting made in TV. You need a heightened concept. So step one is what are the right kind of scripts? Know what are the right kind of scripts for the current marketplace. Step two is know what are the required skill sets. What are the skill sets that are required to be able to pull off those kind of scripts? Step three, discover or have someone help you figure out what are your inherent strengths, weaknesses, and blind spots. Blind spots are weaknesses that you don't know you have. So in terms of the required skill sets to write the right kind of scripts, to launch your career, where are your strengths and where are your weaknesses? And then how do you relentlessly train weaknesses into strengths? This is critical. You know, if I'm trying to build a house and there's certain critical tools that I need to build that house, if I'm missing one of the tools, I probably won't successfully build the house. It won't be the kind of house that anyone's going to want to buy. So once you know what your inherent strengths and weaknesses and blind spots are as a writer, and you know what the required skill sets are to write the kind of scripts that can launch your career, then it's figuring out how to relentlessly train your weaknesses into strengths, how to turn weaknesses into strengths. And when you can do that, now you can write the right kind of scripts and fully pull it off. And now comes the most critical step, the step that so many people skip. And the people who skip this next step, there's a word for these people, and that word is unemployed or amateur. You have to confirm that you have fully written the right kind of script. You have to test this script, and it has to be proven. You have to confirm that you have done this. It's not enough to write a script and for the writer to say, yes, this script is exceptional. This is the kind of script that can launch a career. You got to confirm that. You got to make sure that this is the right kind of script. And so here is the full roadmap to success. And one of the things that, you know, it was drilled into my head when I was starting out is there are no shortcuts. And be wary of people who offer shortcuts. People say, here's the magic paradigm. Here's the magic formula. Follow this and you will be successful. Or give me money and I will help you solve your access problem. I will make sure the right people read your scripts. There are no shortcuts. What you see on the screen, the writers that I've worked with who've gone on to have success and sometimes incredible success, this is their roadmap. There are no shortcuts. You have to know what are the right kind of scripts for the current marketplace. You have to know what are the required skill sets to write those kind of scripts. You have to know with those skill sets, which ones do you already have? Which ones don't you fully have yet? How do you get those skill sets? How do you turn weaknesses into strengths? And when you can do that, then you can write the right kind of scripts. And please confirm that. Know how to confirm that to prove that you are writing the right kind of scripts. Then you must do the work to get the right people to read those scripts. Then when you go on those meetings, make sure you're doing what you need to be doing in those meetings and you're avoiding the common mistakes. And if it doesn't happen for you in the first round of meetings, write another great script, go on a second round of meetings. Much more likely you'll launch your career the second time. If not, a third script, or God forbid, a fourth script. And by the fourth round of meetings, it's going to happen for you. I was able to launch a career, and if I can do it, you can do it. And I have worked with so many writers who've done it. And if they can do it, you can do it. You just have to understand there really are no shortcuts. This is the roadmap to success. Now, what I want to do a really big favor to you. And I'm going to ask that you do a big favor for me. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to do an entire video, which is a deep dive into what are the right kind of scripts for the current marketplace. I want to answer that for you. If you already know what are the right kind of scripts for the marketplace, you can skip that video. But if you're not sure, I want to get that information to you absolutely free. And then I'm going to do a video on what are the required skill sets. I'm going to lay those out for you. That can greatly expedite your learning curve. People did this for me. I'll do it for you. And I'll do another video on what are the ways that you can turn weaknesses into strengths. How can you develop your abilities to write the right kind of scripts? And I'll give you different ways of the writers that I've seen who pulled that off, who've been able to train themselves to the point of being able to write the right kind of scripts. They've done it different ways. And so I'll give you the ways that writers have successfully done that. And then I'll do another video on how you can test and know for sure if you're writing the right kind of scripts. And then I'll do another video on, assuming you have the right kind of scripts, how can you get the right people to read those scripts? What are the right ways to go about it? And what are the wrong ways to go about it? And I'll do another video on when you're going out on those meetings, pitch meetings, general meetings, assignment meetings, what is the right strategy? What are the smart things that you want to be focused on, and what are the mistakes you want to avoid? So I'm going to create a whole bunch of videos and get those videos out to you. That's what I'll do for you. What I'm going to ask in return is that you help me get the word out about this video, because there's so many people out there who are smart and creative and talented and are pouring heart and soul into their scripts, and they're just not getting a career. And it might be because they listen to some bad information, or that they believe there's a shortcut, or there's one piece of the puzzle they can't figure out. Maybe there's just one thing lacking in their scripts, or they just can't figure out how to get the right people to read their scripts, or they can't figure out what to do in those meetings. And I want to help as many people as I can. So I ask you, help me get the word out, through your writing group, through social media, however. Help me get the word out that I'm going to be providing all this information out to the writing community. And then I invite you to join me in the next video, which is the right kind of scripts to launch your career, which I'll do a deep dive to answer that. That'll be the next video. And as always, feel free to go to my website, corymandell.net, where there's some more free resources. And if you haven't already done so, I invite you to sign up for the email list to be notified when future free videos are released. And again, I will see you in the next video, which will be on my YouTube channel, The Right Kind of Scripts to Launch Your Career.